Dobrý deň. Takže moje meno je Zuzana Tabačková, som súčasťou aj iných kolektívov a zoskupení ako Technická univerzita v Berlíne, ale v tomto príspevku momentálne teraz zastupujem práve túto univerzitu. Môj kolega, ako bolo povedané, tu žiaľ nemôže byť, ale príspevok sme pripravili spolu a tým pádom bude v angličtine. Takže som chcela povedať, že ešte, ak niekto potrebuje preložiť, tak tam sú sluchátka, môžete si zobrať a bude to preložené do slovenčiny, moja angličtina. Ale malo by to byť zrozumiteľné. Ďakujem. Takže pokračujem v angličtine. So what does it actually mean to teach urban design? What do we actually teach? The answer is pretty simple at first. Of course, we teach how to design cities, neighborhoods, regions, towns, and anything in between. But the city is not really one static thing that you can just design and build as you wish. We all know that in fact, cities are constantly changing. And it's not just the cities, the whole world is, and actually always been, in constant flux. What was yesterday held as the ultimate truth, like the centralized planning, car-friendly cities and panelaki, is today mocked and critiqued. And it is almost impossible to know what tomorrow will bring. If anything is becoming more fluid, less permanent, in constant adaptation, then education of urban designers and planners needs to follow in order to prepare them for the unknown challenges. It's kind of obvious. So how can such constant education look like? Well, actually it can look pretty standard. There is a teacher, a studio, beamer probably most of the time, some papers, and students. They are quite important. But I don't want to focus so much on the hardware, although that is also very important. I want to focus much more on the software of it, so the model behind, as this conference suggests. But before I discuss the concrete model, let me first address in some more detail some of the challenges and trends that that we see as crucial to address in the current education. The constant... No? Yes, sorry. So the constantly changing cities are a field where the constantly changing cities are a field where wishes, maybe now. Posledný krát, už neviem nič. So some of the challenges. The cities, as I said, are constantly changing, and they're a field where wishes, values, and various global and local stakeholders meet, battle, and are constantly negotiating just to then materialize in form of cities, buildings, parks, playgrounds, and anything you kind of see around. What does the city of tomorrow look like? I don't know, actually, and the students don't know either, although they probably have some strong ideas about it. But anyhow, they will need to plan them. And they will need to plan them also together with other stakeholders, with other disciplines. And on top of that, they will need to plan them also with the residents, because it's really not okay anymore to build future cities just from your drawing table. I think we can all agree on that. Therefore, as planning, at least in the ideal sense and in the more free countries, becomes more democratized and aims at reaching and involving a wide spectrum of actors in the process of design and its implementations, the skill of communication becomes more prominent in the skill set of planners. Today and also tomorrow, it is not enough anymore to communicate just with the client. The planners and the designers need to be able to address various actors of the public, the politicians, journalists, academics, other designers, activists, the young people and the old people, anything really in between. This requires not just a new extended soft skills like branding, diplomacy, empathy, management, some of these we've been already hearing also today, but also other skills like social media, web design, online platforms, presentation tools. And on top of all of this, there is also an ever-growing multitude of techniques, tools, and methods that support the more traditional scope of work of planners, where hand-built physical models and 2D drawings are complemented by 3D printing, virtual augmented reality, like on the image you are seeing. And there is also a myriad of other digital tools, the list of which is growing every single day. So yeah, it's kind of obvious that all of these cannot be really meaningfully encompassed in the curriculum of any urban design degree or architecture or design or whatever. And I'm sure that these similar challenges are being faced also in art and design and similar, and actually in many other disciplines. So how do we prepare students to become the future urban designers if the future is not known? And even the knowledge and possibilities of the present are really all too vast to be all meaningfully encompassed in any curriculum. Well, one of the answers will be that perhaps it is not so important that the students learn everything, if that is anyway impossible, as we all know. Perhaps the priority can be and should be shifted rather to teaching students how to orient themselves in the ever-fast and changing world of changing values and skills and new technologies emerging, so that they can themselves decide for themselves, especially outside of the university and later, what are the values worth supporting and standing up for, and what skills and technologies do they need for achieving their goals. Perhaps rather than teaching how to use a specific program or how our neighborhoods should look like, we can teach them how to understand the principles of programs and to enable students to form an informed judgment about many contradicting wishes of the many stakeholders involved in the designing and planning cities. Such education would have as its aim not to convey instrumental knowledge about how things really should be, but more about building up thinking skills. So to enable the students to, first of all, understand the world and to critically question it, and then to reflect on the myriad of its contradictions. And then so they can make thoughtful decisions, and while also taking responsibility for all of them. So how do we build up these critical, essential skills? Well, we do so, of course, through teaching urban design, because that's what we do. But you could equally do so through teaching architecture, gardening, economics, or really anything else for that matter, because it is not so much about the subject, but it's more about the model, as this conference suggests, of education. I cannot, of course, properly address this very vast topic in the scope of this short presentation, but we have already heard today in the morning some pretty good answers to how to address these challenges, and I'm sure yesterday there were also some. So let me just add another one by briefly discussing one concrete model of education that was developed and continues to be developed at our department at the TU Berlin. It is called Microacademy. It was established in 2012 and it continues to exist until now. It was established by my boss, Professor Angela Million, and my colleague Andreas Brück, who cannot be here today, to tell you more about it in person, as he is the main responsible one for this project. But I will try to do my best in his absence to tell you more about the project. What I can tell you more about from my personal experience is maybe later in the discussion, if there is some space for it, how this teaching format influenced the overall performance of the students in the studio that I'm teaching. So, Microacademy is a format that was born precisely of the earlier mentioned problematic of the constantly widening skill set of the urban designers and planners connected to the rapid changes in the technology and in the discipline itself. It is a peer-to-peer learning environment, primarily for urban planners and designers, but is open to anyone virtually, to non-students, staff, and professors, of course. The format consists of a series of workshops, seminars that take place approximately 5 to 8 times per semester. Originally, it was aimed at teaching various communication and visual representation skills, like vector works or photography, as you can see on some of the posters on the side. But soon the scope extended And it's now including things like universal design, urban games, design thinking, or art and public space, especially just focusing on what is urban design in this context and how this can be reached. The conception of microacademy was driven by the very practical need. So it's not some abstract ideals, but it was a very practical need to really broaden the scope of the teaching curriculum by focusing on students' literacy and communication, while at the same time testing new ideas of teaching and co-teaching. So how can we experiment with both? The combination of the two actually surprisingly led to a very, very simple idea that by incorporating students into the teaching and learning experience would actually at the same time also enhance their teaching, their communication skills altogether, because they simply have to communicate. A peer-to-peer format is of course nothing new. It's been around and it's been used and tested many, many times. But there are still many considerations to be made and many challenges that had to be answered when implementing for this one specific context of the TU Berlin. For example, how to motivate students to take part in such courses if they can, take any online course online. There is a myriad of courses from Harvard University. Why should you be attending a course by your peer students at a technical university? And also how to motivate student teachers to prepare and to go that extra bit of time to prepare the seminars for their peers. And of course, the most important question, or one of the most important ones, how do you ensure the quality of what is being taught? Because of course, we are guaranteeing that the program is teaching the students something, so how can we ensure that actually something valuable these people are saying? These are all valuable questions, and it took a couple of trials and tests of the round to answer them and to find optimal format that is working for now. I don't have, unfortunately, time to go into all the details, so I will skip the long process to proceed how the microacademy works right now. So as I said, it is a peer-to-peer accredited teaching format at the TU University, at the TU Berlin, and it is incorporated into the official curriculum of the Urban Planning and Design Studies as an elective course. So it is an extension to the standard curriculum. The participants are rewarded not just with knowledge, but also with credit points and certificates. The key points about how it is structured and what are the rewards you can see on the board. The studio atmosphere, about which there was also talk today, especially in the morning, studio atelier, is a setup in which students, and also combined with a setup where students teach other students, leads to low hierarchies and a feeling of equality among participants. And this atmosphere lowers barriers in participation and involvement in class, as students feel way more comfortable to ask extra questions, to ask for solutions to the problems they may be encountering. And this leads altogether to a more proactive and most of all creative learning environment, where there is actually space for the trial and error, because no one is judging you and actually you are not getting a grade for this. All these factors are essential for any creative activity, the proactive and the creative environment. And it is especially important for future urban designers who will be operating in very complex situations, dealing with difficult institutional settings and wicked problems. So they need to have lots of creativity and be not afraid to fail. Working together is also a very essential thing that is learned mutually through the microacademy courses. Nevertheless, however good education might be, it is not finished with completing a university degree or one short course or tutorial or whatever. To be able to deal with the shifting challenges, one cannot stop educating oneself. Learning is an ongoing process, and this is what the bottom-up defined, constantly changing content of the microacademy is really trying to convey. It hopes to contribute to shaping understanding of learning as a progressive, interactive, and reoccurring process, where one learns continuously, flexibly, adapting to new situations and new technologies and resources available. And also when one also learns from each other, while also sharing knowledge. In order to constantly adapt the content of the course, the format of microacademy is also, since the very beginning, being constantly assessed through questionnaires, discussion rounds, in order to incorporate students' opinions and reflections on our organization and management of the course. The constant evaluation contributes to an ongoing development of the format. But there is no one ultimate goal that we really try to reach, no one end state. We are not looking for one solution to the challenges that the urban design education faces. Instead, the format is a constant process of trial and error in itself. It promotes plurality and constant development of innovative ideas, of possible answers, so that to the many complex problems posed by urban design. The concept and the format thus puts in practice the attitude that it hopes to convey. The number of courses, here there are just some of them, and also the number of participants, so each of the poster has 3 to 5 courses, is growing every semester, and many students are also repetitive participants, and they come back after achieving the standard 3 points. And this says about how popular the course has become. And even if some students are of course concerned about the varying quality of the content, which is, however, the case also with the official and more formal education. It also does depend on who is the teacher. The students generally praise the courses and improve it by their attendance, really. While the legitimation of the courses, so getting the credits points for the attendance, is actually a big drive behind microacademy's success, just to face it. It is also the atmosphere of the sharing, and also the community of people that is being created, where people can meet students with common goals, and this also motivates students to come back or to stay and be part of it. Overall, the microacademy can be seen as success when addressing the need for more varied and specialized courses on methods and tools, so the problems of technology that I was discussing earlier on. Whether it also prepares them for the unknown future, that's right now quite difficult to say. But it does create a space for experimentation, self-directed learning, and mistakes. If we want education to be in tune with the world in flux, and that's what we want it to be, if you want to make sure that education is including new technologies, new trends, like those of mixing of disciplines, increasing flexibility and adaptivity, and promoting regimes of action rather than reaction, we must constantly develop, adjust, and update our curriculum and teaching methods. By shaping and reconceptualizing current university roles and missions, such innovative pedagogies contribute to both students learning better, and also it promotes 21st century competencies for the urban planners and designers. So if the project sounds interesting to you, this is the new open call for the semester to come. You are very welcome to submit some proposals, and maybe see you in Berlin for one or the other seminar. Thank you.